back on MorningLine. Our guest with us this morning, Glenn Cranfield. He's the president and CEO of the Nashville Rescue Mission. It's good to have him on today. It's a busy time of the year, obviously, during the holidays, but they do it every day of the year. And when we went to the break, I was asking you just about, the situation sometimes that lands folks at the mission. And I was making the comparison to some of what the sheriff says he sees at the jail. Not that the mission is like the jail, but they suffer from some of the same problems. And he says the vast majority behind bars have a mental health issue or drug substance abuse issues. And I would imagine that to a degree that's true at the mission as well.
It is true. We work very closely with the Mental Health Cooperative, for example, on the mental health issue, because 35% of the clients that we serve each and every day have a diagnosed mental health
about
condition.
35%.
And so we know that that number is probably higher because those of them, that's the ones that have been officially diagnosed. And it's a serious issue and a huge issue. And so that's not our expertise. And so what we do is we connect them with the Mental Health Cooperative, and we work in partnership with one another. They're down at the mission 2 or 3 days a week, really, in counseling and caring for, providing medicines and things of that nature. And we have a great story I share with you. One guy who's been on the streets here in Nashville for about 20 years and in and out of the rescue mission. He would be what we would call chronic homeless. He's just, as far as anybody knows, he's always
20
been
years,
homeless.
you bet.
20.
It's a lifestyle.
And so he suffered from mental health issues, and he wore a toupee kind of thing. It really wasn't hair, but he had this thing on his head that was held together under his chin by a rubber band. And it was very difficult. We didn't talk to anyone, wouldn't really approach anyone, and if anybody approached him, he would just kind of go off and do his own thing. And so over time, our case managers really wanted to find out how they could provide for him the help that he needed. And so and I'm talking about over a series of months, they began to get closer to him and closer to him. And eventually then developed a sense of trust and was able, over a period of time, connect him with Mental Health Cooperative. And so they were able then to get him medicine, and so he started taking his medicine, and it was like he woken out of a sleep. The fog lifted. He began to recall names and phone numbers of friends and relatives. We were able to contact his relatives in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio.
Holy cow.
They cried. They thought he was dead. They hadn't heard from him in 20 years. They came down with their family, brought grandkids he didn't even know he had, and there was a tearful reunion there at the rescue mission, all because of case management, counseling, connecting with Mental Health Cooperative, getting the medicine they needed to kind of help with his mental health issues. And now they moved him back to Columbus. So he's living with his family back in Columbus. So 20 years on the street, thought he was dead, and through a partnership with Mental Health Cooperative, really getting him the help that he needs, and now he's living with his family.
That is a great story, and I'm glad you said it's a perfect example of folks who suffer from mental illness like this. There is treatment, and it's every bit as real as a physical illness, okay?
That's
and there's a treatment, and he got whatever the chemical that was missing in his brain is back, and now he's able to exist and socialize and be back with his family. You have to promise me this, okay? Like, next time something like this happens, it's evolving, if the family's willing, call me. I would have loved to have done that story. I would have loved to have done that story.
Absolutely.
So please, just keep it, I'm glad you shared it, but let us know. We should publicize those. Next time you say, hey, this is a good one. I'm going to call Nick. This guy just got treatment. He's come out of the fog. Family's here. I think that's fantastic. Now, he's someone that you were able to get through to. I'm wondering, there are rules and guidelines at the mission, okay? Correct?
Yes.
Someone comes in there, you discover them with narcotics. What happens?
Right. We don't allow people there with narcotics.
You don't, but they sneak it in, or you walk into one of the bunk rooms, and there they are. How do you handle it?
Well, we do have we do have the discipline measures in place, and so we would expel them from the mission with narcotics
or drink, booze,
drugs, weapons, all of those. We have metal detectors, and we search everyone when they come through the door, not just for weapons, but also drugs and narcotics. So every bag is searched.
They have to know.
Everything is searched, and so we do the very best that we can to screen them. And we have found people at the screening process with things that they can't bring in, and so we take that, or they don't want to take it. They turn around and walk away, and that's fine. We have a very controlled population of men, women, and children, and our duty and our job is to provide service to them in a safe manner. And so if you can't bring that stuff in. And so if we do find it, and there have been cases where we do, our security has found that somebody has something on the property, then we expel them from the property.
Are there ever fights?
You know, I've been here 4 years. We've not had any fights.
For real?
For real. It is, as far as violence, it's a very safe place. And again, I think security presence, we have cameras all over the place. We have staff that we train all the time about de-escalation and violence and how to handle violence. And I think all of that's important. You know, it's one of those things that you don't want to ever use, but you're glad that you're ready to use it if you need to.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you too, you say that you offer a spiritual side of this, which I think is wonderful, if religion can help them. Now, if someone comes in and they abide by all the rules, but they're not ready to go to the spiritual side, is that required?
Absolutely not. Okay. Absolutely not. We have a chapel service every evening. We also have a recovery program during the same time, a 12-step recovery program, and they go to one of those. But you know, we have people of faith there.
Yeah, I was saying different faiths.
We have Christians there. We have Muslims there. We have Jews there. We have agnostics and atheists there. And our compelling thing is, because of our faith, then we are going to care for you and love you and show you a way out of this, regardless of what you believe. We want you to believe this. We think this is right. But if you choose not to, we're not going to force you.
That's not a prerequisite.
No,
I mean,
absolutely
you'll
not.
try to help them. Maybe they'll come around if they're not ready to with time.
But the main thing that we want them to know is they have value. They have worth. And because you are where you are today, and it's a great phrase I use all the time with them, your past does not have to define your future. You can let it do that. But it doesn't have to.
It's so tough too, because I remember I've been volunteering out there around the holidays, going back, you know, early 2000s, and you know, during the really hard economic times, 2007, 2008, and all this, where a lot of people. I wonder how hard it is for some people. You talked about maybe 30% have a mental illness that come in, and maybe another 40% have some type of substance abuse, and maybe there's some overlap there. But that also means there's maybe 30% that have neither of those, but have hit on maybe a physical health issue, lost their job, too much in debt. It's interesting when you work the line at the food, you know, in the kitchen there, and you see the people come through. And it's like you said earlier during the commercial break, you're looking at some individuals and you're like, I wonder what landed this person here. I mean, you cannot tell by looking. You have this image of someone being homeless and, you know, they've got bags and they're you cannot tell. There are people that come in very nicely dressed, suits, you know, who have been out trying to apply for jobs, and others that they look professional, and there are professionals. I was stunned by that when I realized it runs it. And then for some of them, is it a pride thing? Is it an issue for them sometimes coming? I always look in their eyes, and you can tell some of them obviously wish they weren't there and didn't have to be there. I mean, do you talk with some of those folks? I mean, and do you see it yourself when you see? I mean, it runs.
Absolutely, absolutely. I periodically I'll go through the line myself, and sometimes it's getting now after 4 years I kind of know who I am. But I love to sit with them and talk to them and just tell me your story. Help me know your story,
and they're fascinating. Every single one. I mean, if they're willing to share it, I will listen.
That's right. They all have a story. I sat with two gentlemen last week. Both of them are veterans, and they were just as kind and as gracious as they could be. Just told me their story, and you know, and I just, you know, I thank them for their service to our country. I thank them for their sacrifice, and each of them were individual in their own issues and the hurts and the pains that they had.
PTSD?
Yes, and what brought them to there. And I was just overwhelmed with gratefulness to them, because they sacrificed and they gave up some important things to defend our country, and they were older men. And I'm leaving, and the guy pulls my coat sleeve, and he says, wait a minute. He says, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for caring for us and providing a place for us. And we're not planning on being here all the time. You know, we're going to get out of this, but thank you for being here today.
The really first step, and that's a wonderful story, for them to get out of it. All right, you go through the counseling, you get them trained, you get their head on straight, and what is the most important thing to them getting their first apartment? I mean, to get out and be self-sufficient, what do they need right off the bat when they get out?
The first thing they need, they need a job.
Okay, now they need to have transportation. Now, or to get there, but there's public transit. Now, also, though, if they're going to apply for a job and they don't have a place yet, do they put down the mission's address and phone number?
They do.
For when they fill out the application?
They do, and those are on the program, not only mission and phone address, also a staff member as their work therapy supervisor. If you want to see how I worked for the last 6 months in the kitchen, on the lawn crew, custodial crew, here's my man, here's my supervisor. He can tell you what kind of employee I was, what kind of, not employee, but what kind of worker I was.
Which is great. Now, from your perspective there, those folks need then, obviously, they're going to tell this employer calling and be honest. So you guys have to decide when this person's ready to be a good employee and get back on his feet again, correct?
That is correct.
You're not going to give a recommendation to someone who's not there yet.
That's
correct. If they go out in the real world and fail miserably for this employer,
that's right,
it's going to come back on you.
That's right.
So, I mean, and that doesn't mean sometimes they don't go out and not make it. Sometimes other things happen. But so you have to decide when they're ready.
That's right, and we do that, and it's towards the latter part of we have a program, and towards the latter part of that, and we'll tell them. I mean, we sat down with guys and said, you know, you need to get a job, but you're going to lose it in 2 weeks if you don't deal with some of these issues.
Gotcha. So yeah, you got to be honest with them.
Yeah, that's right.
And so then if they come around, so they go out and they get that first job. If they start working, then they continue to live at the mission while they try to make enough money to get that first apartment or whatever it is. And keep in mind, getting an apartment, even if you can find one that's $500, $600 a month, good luck with that.
Right.
Still, almost every place, first, last month's rent,
right,
utilities. I mean, you're talking just to move into a place and an affordable apartment costing you close to $2,000.
That's right. And so they work, and then they live in what we call our area of transitional living, which means they're transitioning out, and so they stay there, and then they bank their wages. They bank their money, and so that's important for us. And so they can't make that money and then go spend it out on frivolous stuff. And so we have a method in place to make sure that they're banking that, so that they're building their first month's deposit, last month's deposit, things that they need, utility deposits. And so when they move out, they have that available to set up their apartment for the living.
That's great. And how many of the people, we're going to get to call here in a sec, but how many of those people are folks who have dealt with that and know how to do it before, or maybe are dealing with that for the very first time?
I think most of them know that.
Okay.
Most of them know that. May not have been successful in that, but most of them know that, yeah.
Let's go to Miss Walker. Hi, Miss Walker.
Hi.
Good morning. What's on your mind?
Well, a whole lot.
Well, share.
Well, sure. I have a family that really doesn't want a lot to do with me.
Who doesn't?
My family.
Oh, they don't? So you're kind of alone?
Pardon?
Are you alone then, or do you have a place to live?
Oh, I have a friend I'm staying with in Portland.
Okay, and are you looking then like you might need some help from the mission, or would you like to learn more about that?
I would like to learn more about it, definitely.
Okay, fair enough. And that's, well, you keep listening here. And all right, for someone like this, and she's in Portland, okay, I don't know, they may have facilities out there, but she could come here, couldn't she?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, here it sounds odd, but even people that are homeless have access to computers and the internet.
Or the library.
But NashvilleRescueMission.org, and you can click on the different tab there, and it tells you about all of the things that we provide for maybe your situation. But we encourage anybody and everybody. Our doors are open wide. Come in, let us. If we're not the right place for you, we'll help find you the right place, because we care about you and we care about this lady. And so if she's in a situation where she finds herself in need of the services that we provide, or we have a huge network here in Nashville of different agencies, we can help get you to the place you need to be.
Yeah, just keep in mind, I don't know if you've reached out, you know, to other things and sometimes not had success with it. The mission's a safety net. It's really, you take that away and you hit the ground. So the mission's not going to let you fall. It's just not.
Right.
And so Miss Walker and others that are watching, and you know, she said her family maybe doesn't want to have anything to do with her right now. Who knows what kind of issues they're having?
Right.
You know, we'll try to put a phone number up for you before the end of the show on what you can call. And then what if she just shows up?
Well, she can do that.
Yeah.
That happens every single day.
Exactly. No one's going to turn you away.
No.
And they're going to figure it out, and you can get some food in your stomach the next 2 days or whatever.
Absolutely.
But she'd have to find a way to get here to town. But can you also refer her to any help that might be available in her part of the town? Or she lives in Portland as
Case managers, a phone call. She can phone call. The case managers right now can talk with her about what might be available in Portland. And me being new to the Nashville area, Portland, is that north?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's Sumner County, I think, right? And so we'll find out the number for you, and we'll put it up at the end of the show. You and others who are watching, give us a call.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we can do. We'll take a break on that note. Come back, our final segment with our guest right after this.